After all the hype that you've heard over the course of the last 2 years about the Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management, we're proud to announce our new venture, the Women of Conservation Calendar, that showcases and celebrates the women that helped defeat Proposition 127. 14 months of the calendar of all of the women that helped, plus more, the convention dates, deadlines, draw application dates, commission meetings, and things going on at the Colorado State Capitol. This is an opportunity to support CRWM and the efforts that we continually work on through the Colorado State Capitol, Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission, and to address all of the ballot issues that continually arise. We've got some fantastic sponsors that help prop up and just showcase who these women are. Rodeo queens, barrel racers, houndswomen, general sportsmen, mothers, and every avocation you could think, from archery hunting to muzzleloading to rifle hunting and waterfowl as well. These women stuck their necks out to help save the hunt. Get it for yourself. It makes a great gift. Make sure you get it before Christmas, and look at all the other important dates that are coming up. $24.95, SaveTheHuntColorado.com. Through the Gates is produced under the support of the Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management to enhance, promote, and defend the North American model of wildlife conservation and responsible wildlife management. That's our mission. We're engaged in fighting at every level so that wildlife management remains science-based and conservation continues to work for our wildlife. To learn more and join the movement, visit SaveTheHuntColorado.com. The North American model of wildlife conservation is the greatest conservation model in the world. It's a success story that should be shared and celebrated because everybody is a part of it. So we got another episode of Through the Gates to Save the Hunt, and I am privileged to be here with Commissioner Murphy Robinson of the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission. Murphy and I have struck a friendship up because you're a sportsman's rep, sportsperson's rep.
That's right.
And you're a sportsman yourself. Mm-hmm. And we are at the Sterling, Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission meeting. Had some interesting conversations at the commission today, but I don't really want to talk about too much of that. I don't want to talk about you. I want to talk about why you're doing what you're doing, how you got into this, and how you think that maybe sportsmen and women need to get involved in what they need to do. So give us, first of all, appreciate you being here. Appreciate
Absolutely.
You taking time after dinner. I know you got a busy day tomorrow and then you got to go home. Tell us a little bit about you, your background, who you are, where you come from, and why in the hell did you jump into this arena?
I ask myself that same question some of these days. No, Dan, I want to thank you for having me on. It's, not only do I appreciate our friendship, but I appreciate how you represent sportsmen across the state and frankly across the country. It's really important. So Murphy Robinson, I have been involved with fishing, hunting, and just all things outdoors since I was 0 years old. My family grew up, I didn't grow up hunting, believe it or not, until I was in my teenage years. My dad didn't hunt. It was actually my neighbor who got me into hunting. But when I was literally, I don't remember when I didn't fish. Mm-hmm. My mom and my grandmother and my dad and everyone in my family that I know, my uncles and aunts, everyone fished. And we lived right near Kendrick Lake in Lakewood. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And would go down there and just where we'd spend our time. And we'd probably fish 3 or 4 times a week sometimes. And so I grew up.
Fried bait fishing.
It's bait fishing.
Yeah, but bobbers and whatever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Today, that's my favorite.
Fly fishing at that point.
No. Fly fishing came into my life like literally a few years ago. Yeah. My mom is a very avid fly fisher woman. Mm-hmm. That she became. Matter of fact, I think she's the vice president of the Colorado women's fly fishing team. And she became, in her retirement, became a huge fly fishing advocate. But fly fisher woman. But I am, and remain today, a big bait fisherman. I do a ton of bait fishing, as well as I've tried to get into fly fishing. But as you know, that's an art. That's an art. And so, that's the fishing side of things. But then, when I was growing up, I was probably 16 years old when I went on my first pheasant hunt. And it kind of changed things for me. First, we started the clay pigeons at Kiowa. That was when it was brand new, Kiowa Creek Gun Club. And a guy named Terry Schomer kind of taught me how to shoot. He, just kind of helped raise me. That's how it was in our neighborhood. He was a huge kind of uncle to me. And he took me pheasant hunting for the first time, and I fell in love, and I had always wanted to do big game. And it wasn't until
it's a big step. It's a big step to go from one to the other.
Huge step. Huge, very different too. But it went from pheasant hunting to then I became a police officer in Brighton, Colorado, and was exposed to goose and duck hunting. I mean, we used to hunt the Platte River with my commander, Scott, and his son. And they kind of exposed me to geese and duck and all those things. And then they said, "Hey, Murphy, would you ever want to go elk?" I said, "Yeah, but I don't know the first thing about elk hunting." And that was my first exposure to big game. I got my tag, and we went up, and I went and did a lot of hikes, armed hikes.
Yeah. You're taking your gun for a walk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Took my gun for a lot of walks for many years, actually. And then, it wasn't until many years later, actually, where we were unsuccessful a bunch of years for elk. I am no longer a virgin elk hunter. I did get my first elk.
Good for you.
But then I became a lover of deer hunting, mainly because I carried it out myself, and I can go by myself if needed. I grew to have a ton of friends also interested in hunting, big game hunting, and then was able to do the deer hunting and the pronghorn hunting, and I just fell in love. And now I hunt all the things all around the country. I've been bison, I've been alligator, I've done it all now, and I continue to seek those experiences. My number one thing is I don't shoot anything I don't eat. That's a personal thing for me because I believe that the best meat you can have in your freezer is the things that you can hunt yourself. And I want to teach my kids those skills as well. But I am always looking for a hunt. My wife actually gets sick of it because I'm always year round saying, what can I go out and get?
And so you were born in Colorado.
Born and raised. Yep.
And you being brought into the side of where you're at today. How did you find out about or get considered for the position that you're in for the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission? I mean, how did somebody that came from your background with a limited amount of hunting participation, it's not like you were on a chapter or a board or anything for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, or how did you end up here in your perspective, and why, and secondly, why did you volunteer once you were coveted or
chosen? Yeah. So I should say I didn't grow up being a part of organizations and all those things, but I have been an avid hunter for many, many years. And so that's important to know. So as many of you know, I have a rich history in the public sector, running the city of Denver as not only the chief operating officer, but the public safety director, and law enforcement and the deputy mayor, and which allowed me to have a lot of contacts around the state. And one of those contacts happened to be the former chief of staff for Jared Polis, the governor. And we were, Alec and I are really good friends. And we were just at a catch-up lunch one day. And Alex said to me, he said, "So Murph, what are you doing in your fun time? What are you doing in your off time?" I said, "Man, really the only thing I'm doing is raising kids and hunting. Those are the only two things I have time for. That's for fun other than my job." And he said, "Wait, what?" I said,
"That's it?"
I said, "Like, what do you mean, what?" He goes, "You're a hunter?" I said, "Yeah, man, been a hunter for years, And he goes, like, "What do you hunt?" And so we go into the whole thing, and I'm thinking he's wanting to get into it. So I'm like, "Yeah, I got to take you out sometime." We're having that, you know how that goes. Have the whole conversation. I was like, yeah, we'll start out with clays. And, and he's fascinated, and he's fascinated for the wrong reasons. I thought he was going to go out with me. And he said, Murphy, I might be asking you to do something for me. And I said, what? He goes, I'll let you know. And I was like, that was all he gave me. And I was like, okay. So
I got to gut a roadkill deer or what?
Yeah, well, I didn't know what he was talking about. So we just finished our lunch, and that was the end of it. I was at a Rockies game, the opening day. We were at a VIP event, and I'll never forget. I've known Governor Polis for some time as the deputy mayor at Denver, but we never like had a lot of conversation or
we weren't close.
We weren't by no means. Yeah. No, like we've done a lot when it came to COVID and all that kind of stuff. We were in the same rooms, but we didn't have a lot of contact with each other. But he came over to me and he said, Murphy, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. And how are things going? And then he says very quickly, I heard you're a hunter.
Really?
And I said, I am. And it was very odd because I didn't know where he was going with it. And then I saw Alec come up and he was smirking. I said, oh, this is his fault. And he said,
the one that threw me out.
And he said, I heard you're a hunter. He goes, we have a spot on the commission open for a hunter. I'd like to talk to you about it. Could you come talk to me at my office? Mm-hmm. I said, sure, we can talk about it. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But we can talk about it. Because to date, what was funny for me was as you know, the hunting world is very interesting because when you don't grow up in it and you don't have, I get my dad, I had my neighbor, Terry, who kind of got me into it. He wasn't a big game hunter though. And when you don't have family members who can teach you the trade and stuff, sometimes it's a lonely road out there to learn and really get into.
Well, you got access and laws and rules and regulations.
That's right.
Facilitation of where you want to go and when you want to do it and everything. It's much different than small game or bird hunting.
That's right. And it's in the end, the part that's really fun about, and this will get into why I'm doing this, is the camaraderie piece. Like just tell the stories and share the stories. And, just that's a really fun part of, why I really was enjoying starting to get involved with some of my colleagues at the police department, because it's one thing to go hunting. It's another thing to sit around the campfire and tell stories. And,
Right.
So long story short is, I then, Governor Polis asked me to come to his office and talk about my hunting experience. And I will tell you, he grilled me. I give him a lot of credit because he and his staff, first they vetted me, and I guess they asked me for how many times I've pulled tags and all that kind of stuff, and I gave it to them. And they saw that I've been pulling tags for many, many years. And then they asked me to come in, and I went in, and he grilled me about my hunting experience and saying, hey, tell me what you hunt. Tell me how you hunted. What guns do you use? I mean, literally, like I was like, okay, where's this going?
Yeah.
And finally, after I think we had
Am I a witness here or what?
Yeah, exactly. But I give him credit because he was doing real vetting. And after 2 meetings of talking through my hunting experience and my beliefs, and I think they really sought to have a real sports person, I was asked to consider joining the commission. And I didn't say yes right away. I said I'd think about it. But one of the reasons I ultimately said yes, and one of the reasons I didn't jump at the opportunity was, number one, I own businesses. My time is money. But then I really thought about it and I said, I have a real opportunity to represent people I really respect, to help people come to this fun hobby / way of life, and to help young people keep the principles that hunting brings with it. It's so much responsibility, so many things that are in our history as hunters that we're losing. And so I said, if I could help represent that across the state and across the country, it'd be an honor. Oh, yeah. And so, which is why I said yes. Now I'll give you the selfish reason why I said yes. The main real hardcore reason, and my wife called me out on this when she heard me doing another interview talking about this, was I just want to be around more hunters. Being a guy who doesn't have, siblings or cousins or, nephews or anybody that are in the hunting world is really, I'm dependent on friends to be available to hunt with me. And this exposes me to all the hunters in the state. And it's it was a selfish thing of like, I just want to be around more guys and ladies who I can actually share stories with.
It helps you learn through the process of different experiences and perspectives.
Absolutely.
And ways of life or traditional pursuits or segments of the state.
Yep.
I mean, it brings you probably, it's a drinking from a fire hose exposure and saturation type deal coming from where you came from as far as circulating yourself in the hunting community.
Sure.
You can do that, but it's a much slower, longer, more intuitive, drawn out process.
That's right. And I would also say like the hunting community, that's like, I always equivocate that to people saying the black community. Because what is that? That doesn't exist, right? Like it's, and I know
the black hunting community.
Oh my gosh. That's a whole.
That's a completely different.
You're right. Yeah. Which, by the way, I've met the Black Hunters Association. Met them since I've done this. They came to my happy hour.
You didn't have them before.
I didn't know they existed. Didn't know it existed. It's amazing. And that's what I'm talking about. Is like, saying the hunting community or a certain community. It's like it's a monolith. It's not. There's so many different types of hunters out there. There's so many different types of, people that do the act of hunting and for certain reasons. And I get to be exposed to all of it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of amazing. It's pretty cool. And I'm honored to do it.
So how old are you?
Old enough.
Sound like a woman.
I'm 37.
And you've escalated yourself in a bunch of different levels through your career.
That's right. I've run 3 cities.
Yeah.
I own 3 companies.
So
I've been blessed. God has really blessed me in my life.
But how many people did you run into during all of that actually pursued hunting as a pretty good recreational opportunity?
Quite a bit.
You did?
Quite a bit, yes.
And so did you see a level of lack of awareness from sportsmen and women that you dealt with about the intricacies of hunting and promoting hunting and sustaining hunting in perpetuity?
Yes. I think that's the conundrum here, which is why I want to use my platform to help people to understand what we're dealing with. Hunters, as for what it is, keep to themselves, right? Like we're not out there talking about what we're doing to people that don't hunt,
right?
For lots of reasons. And I think one of the things that we need to do is be more, not just vocal, but more involved, and allow for us to really use our voices to make sure we're affecting policy in the right way. Because I think there's this narrative about hunters that's frankly incorrect. I've often said on the dais and during my happy hours and every other conversation I have with everybody is the hunting community and the ag community and usually the hunting and ag community intertwine quite a bit, are the biggest conservationists there are out there. We are conservation.
Yes.
And this narrative, this propaganda that is saying the alternative is frankly false. And I have found that I am here to fight that because it's just not true. And without the people that are doing the hunting and are really investing not only dollars, but time, volunteer time and everything else into our land and into wildlife species, without that, we're hosed.
Oh, yeah.
We're hosed.
Yeah.
So. Well,
and a significant amount of the population, whether they're pro-hunting, anti-hunting, or non-hunters, a lot of them, they've got their own perspectives and opinions, but they don't know what they don't know when it comes to the perpetual motion of what I consider to be science-based and responsible wildlife management and how we got to where we're at.
That's right.
When you have a human population that is growing exponentially worldwide, people start to take for granted things that they're not intimately involved with and they don't see on a daily basis and they don't recognize how it happens and where it comes from and how you sustain it. And that's not just hunter and anti-hunter. That's a significant amount of population. I'll use the example of Democrat versus Republican versus independent. The majority of people are independents. The majority of people are non-hunters. You mix independents and non-hunters together and you have not an ignorant, but an uneducated bunch of people about how things work. And to get them to understand the importance of it, people like you
who can play middle of the road
Mm-hmm.
and create that mechanism, bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm.
But they can also do that from other sides of commission members or elected or appointed officials.
Mm-hmm.
If you had the opportunity to talk to non-hunters and anti-hunters and hunters themselves
Mm-hmm.
about the same subject matter, is it the same conversation, but you just have to be cognizant of the audience? Or do you think it's completely different conversations?
So here's the funny part is with me, you get what you get. As I said to my kids, you get what you get. You don't have a fit. I've gone my whole career with one thing intact, and that's my dignity, and that's the truth. And I'm never going to. I'm a Christian, and I truly believe in with my faith that I am not going to compromise who I am for anybody. And so my story or how I believe or how I operate doesn't change based on the audience that I'm talking to. Now, my method of understanding and listening will always be there, and my perspective might change based on facts that I'm being given. But I'm telling you, like, I am the same guy no matter who I'm talking to. So a good example of this is, I do my happy hours, and I'm always meeting with people who ask to meet.
Explain what a happy hour is, because for somebody who's not in this circle,
Sure,
I know, but what a happy hour is.
Sure. So the commissioners, I from day one, even when it wasn't required, started to have what I call hunter angler happy hours, where I have I purchase with my own money a catering company to come in, and we have food, and people come and they just can talk to me and talk to each other and just have a good time. I do that all across the state.
That's mandated by statute.
It is now.
But you've seen the value of that before that mandation.
Absolutely. I started it before, right when I was appointed commissioner by the governor. I started that right away.
Yeah.
And I try to have them every other month. I've fallen off because of my work schedule this last quarter, but I have at least 3 to 4 a year at least.
And that's scattered around depending on where you're at.
That's right.
It's not necessarily in one singular location.
Never. No. Matter of fact, what my shtick is, I love to have them at. I don't do them at CPW offices very often. I did one in Chatfield, but my thing now is I like to have them at places where hunters and anglers go. I had one at a fly shop. I'm planning one now at a bow shop. I just like to have them to actually also represent and highlight some of our local businesses, which is really cool because I don't have to do much except show up, and so it's pretty neat. And it's been a really big honor to be able to do that. And so, I don't change based on who I talk to. So I'll have the happy hours. I'll have those things, and I'll actually have wildlife advocates come to my happy hours. Mm-hmm. And what's cool about that is the last one that I had a wildlife advocate come, and she said, I didn't know how I'd be welcomed here. And I said, man, everybody's welcome, ma'am. Everybody's welcome. Mm-hmm. And she says, well, you won't meet with us. She's like, you won't meet with us at all. And I said, bet me. and
like, how do you know?
And I said, set up the time, I'll be there. And we ended up doing a actual meeting online with a bunch of advocates. And what was interesting is they bought their lawyers and I answered every question they wanted me to answer. And what was so cool was some of those folks that came to the call were a little bit combative. I got a lot of emails afterwards apologizing for those folks. They said, Murphy, we didn't know that you were this guy. Mm-hmm. We expected something completely different. Mm-hmm. We appreciate you coming and talking and giving us the real skinny about who you are, or what you represent.
So you found out that maybe they were genuine in their attempts.
Absolutely. Some of them were. Some folks were genuine. But I think on all sides, whether you're talking about the hunting community or the advocate community or even just the development community versus the ag community, mm-hmm. they're going to find people of all flavors in those communities. My thing is I want to be open and accessible to all of them. I'm not going to take foolishness, and I'm not going to take disrespect or threats and those things, and those have come. Mm-hmm. But I am willing to talk to people. That's the job here, and more than that, I enjoy it. I enjoy getting different people's perspectives because it might help me change mine.
Mm-hmm. Do you see since you've been on, has it been a year and a half now?
I don't even know. Maybe I think about 10, 15 years.
10, 15. In dog years, maybe.
Yeah,
So
I think it's been about a year-ish, a little more than a year.
I was going to say you lost about 8 years in the last.
Exactly.
So, did you fully comprehend or understand the
Gravity?
significance of what you were getting yourself into?
Not at all. 0%.
Really?
And the reason I say 0% is I sit on 7 boards right now. Very good, significant boards that do things across our state. From economic development corporations to visit tourism boards to you name it. I sit on a ton of boards, foundation boards. This board in particular is so important, and I recognize the decisions we make have generational impact at this board, and which is why I try to be so thoughtful and read up for all the things that we do, because I worry that something I'm doing or a decision we make could affect my child when they want to hunt or fish or, and I want them to have those experiences, and frankly, forget hunting and fishing. It's bigger than that. It could affect our overall landscape. It could affect landowner requirements. It could affect the way that CPW can move in our state.
Yeah, it could affect the habitat. It affect
The habitat.
many other wildlife species, and maybe it's water, maybe it's public versus private.
That's right.
A variety of components.
That's right.
You look at the economic side of things to be able to turn around and afford to be able to do it, but then the trickle down economic benefit that goes into the communities, whether it's through hunting and fishing or wildlife viewing or other forms of recreation.
That's right.
There's a significant amount of interest that goes into wildlife. And there again, going back to my analogy of Republican, Democrat, and independents, or non-hunter, hunter, and anti-hunter, everybody has a perspective and everybody has what they consider to be a viable skin in the game. Now, maybe that's anecdotal and maybe it's from their perspective, but they believe that they do. And there's a ton of things out there that people don't even consider paying attention to, let alone getting engaged with, because they don't see the intrinsic value or the connectivity or the moral, the social side of things. You growing up as a young sportsman, did you take this for granted that it was just your God-given right to continue to do and it was always going to be there? I mean, do you look back now compared to where, I think that's where a lot of people are they not?
Yes.
They just figure it's always going to be there no matter what.
One thing I find interesting is there's a lot of trust in this community, but also from the state of Colorado and its residents to CPW. And that trust is that they will take care of the resource. Now we have a fantastic group of people within the agency that work to keep our resources working how they are and making sure that we have this for generations, what we have in the state of Colorado that makes us unique. I truly, though, believe that a commission like ours can make that harder, and it can make an impact in both a positive and a negative light if we aren't careful and measured about the way we attack things. As specifically, and I said it today, as specifically keeping politics out of wildlife management.
And being a type 1 enterprise agency, that's the goal.
Yeah.
To make sure that happens.
That's right.
And I don't know for certain, but I don't think there's another type 1 component of state government.
I think that there are. I think there's other type 1 agencies. I think there's some water components. I think there's. But
it's all under the Department of Natural Resources. Or does it go outside of that?
I am not. I wish I could tell you the right answer to that. I'm sure that CPW isn't the only. I can't tell you what the other ones are. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, I'll say that'll
be interesting.
Be a test because the funds that are generated from CPW are typically on a privileged license basis. It's not a mandatory deal unless you engage.
Sure.
you don't have to do anything for a department of motor vehicle or tax it unless you engage in that.
Sure.
But this itself doesn't go into the general fund.
It's an enterprise fund.
Yeah, they got their own pot to be able to deal with.
Yep.
And when you were growing up, did you realize the ramifications of a young person getting involved in something that you had hardly any knowledge about who was taking care of it on your behalf?
No, not at all. To be honest with you, it was, growing up, like I said, I didn't grow up with my dad teaching me how to hunt. I definitely grew up with both my parents involved with me and teaching me how to fish and all those things. And we always made sure we had our licenses and all those things. But it was one of those transactional kind of things. Make sure you have your license with you. Make sure you do the right thing. No, not even a little bit. I just knew I didn't want to take it. So,
Yeah. It's like,
but now, it's important. And it's important for us to help educate our kids what that whole circle is and why those funds are important to pay for, this lake to be healthy, to pay for these fish to stay alive, to pay, for the stocking of the lake. And so, and matter of fact, I've had that conversation with both my 4-year-old and my 9-year-old.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. They've both gotten indoctrinated into all the things. I've been trying to convince my 9-year-old to even just walk with me as I'm looking to go hunting when I'm stocking.
I saw, and I met her at your confirmation.
You did?
Yeah.
You sure did.
She's just a sweetheart.
You sure? That's a good example.
Yeah.
I brought her with me so she can experience what government looks like in that confirmation.
I remember her sitting there so politely in her little dress back there. And when all this stuff was going on, you could tell that this is about the most boring thing I've ever done until they started talking to you. And when they talked to you, she was almost like perking up. It's like, go ahead, say something about him.
That's right.
Go ahead.
As my baby.
Yeah.
I love it. But I want her to be a young hunter and angler. She fishes with grandma and grandpa all the time. I've taken her fishing, of course, so she loves fishing. She's not quite there yet on the hunting side, which is interesting because she did have her first experience, which I am really grateful for. We had the opportunity to go and take or slaughter a lamb, and it was not hunting, but it was her first time being able to butcher an animal, and I wanted her to experience that because too many kids these days think that the animal is
comes from
they think it's packaged up. It comes out
it comes from the back room. That's
right. That's just how it shows up. What was so interesting, I was fully expecting for her to not engage with it and kind of be freaked out. It was the complete opposite. She was, oh my goodness, she was helping me take the skin off.
Class.
Oh yeah, she's gonna love it. But she was help me skin it. She helped me quarter it. She helped me make the steaks. We did we made lamb chops. So I mean, it was so neat. And not only was I proud of her, but I had so much pride that I could share that with my daughter. And so that was our first step to her hunting experience. And now, granted, that was not hunting. I will say that, so I don't need the emails, y'all.
You weren't hunting a lamb.
No, we were hunting a lamb, but it was cool. So she now knows where her meat comes from. And we could go through that whole process. And then, now I'm looking forward to taking her on her first hunt.
Cool. How many emails you get pertaining to
any given day?
Yeah.
For CPW, I would say anywhere from 50 to 300 a day.
And then when you get in a contentious issue,
goodness gracious. One thing I don't appreciate about our society today is that they use resources to flood your email with the same email coming from, a group of people, but it says the same thing. That helps no one.
Right.
But it's more annoying than anything. And it doesn't help me understand what's actually happening out there. I can get 1,000 of those. And when I tell you, it is very interesting where our society has gone when it comes to engaging their public officials. I come from the public world, so I'm very used to getting the emails. I'm very used to responding to them. I take pride in trying to respond to every one of the emails I know is directed to me that's actually from a person and not a robot.
Or a form letter.
But I will tell you, it's a little bit disheartening to see how people use those form letters and those robots or whatever to send a mass amount of emails because you don't know where people actually stand. I would love if when people actually engage me directly as a person and say, here's what I thought. Because oftentimes I'll respond back, tell me more, no matter what side you're on.
Do you see overall a more educated public about this?
No.
No.
I see a more propagandized public. People are looking at TikTok. They're looking at all these social media things, and they feed into propaganda and don't really go into real facts. And that's a problem in our country today. But I would say, I think one thing I would ask of the public is to get more educated, to find out more facts, do your research. The bison issue is a really good example of what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
Doing that today, the propaganda around bison and, who they are and what they are to various communities is fascinating to me. I've done the research. I've read 3 or 4 books about just bison because I'm fascinated by bison. And just the things that people are saying in our public comment and in the emails, they're just off base. And they're not going to real fact and real history. And it's probably because sometimes real history isn't as sexy.
No, and it's longer than a paragraph.
That's right.
It's longer than a chapter.
That's right.
And I think that when you look at conversations or context about tradition and heritage and history, it's hard for people that aren't interested in that to quantify or qualify the significance and importance of that, because they live in a very short moment and they feel, this is my perspective, they feel that getting up and giving 2 minutes of testimony should be good enough for them to convey their wishes, wants, desires, bitches, or complaints to a commission or to a board or to the legislature or whomever. And it's a lot easier to turn around and do it in the way of a form letter.
Yeah.
Or it's a lot easier for somebody, and I'm speaking personally, but it's a lot easier for somebody to send talking points to people, and then those people turn around and utilize those talking points almost verbatim over and over and over. That's no different than a form letter in my mind, because they're not giving their perspective. They're not giving their insight. But when it really comes down to it, I believe that they don't have much of an insight because they have to be told what to do and what to say and how to do it. And if they have their own perspective, I would think as a commissioner or a legislator that would have to resonate more, if nothing else, even if you didn't agree with them, just to understand where they come from, as opposed to, I wonder how many more of these 100 robot type emails that I'm going to have to get or listen to the testimony of the same conversation over and over.
Well, and I'll tell you, one of the things I appreciate are those folks that are willing to engage, especially with the opposite opinion as me. Oh my goodness. I get into some really heated battles with people who just come at me and attack me, with, whether it's attacking me personally or attack something I said. I get really heated conversations. But at the end of the day, I say, well, I appreciate you saying that. And they say, well, I appreciate you too, because we have real dialogue. Right. And it's, at the end of the day, I might even have a different opinion,
right?
But it's those people that I appreciate. It's the people that are saying the same thing because they were told to say the same thing, right? I would rather they just not. Well, unless they truly believe it.
A lot of times they would do themselves better if they just didn't carry on in the manner that they do. Yeah. For one, I find the level of civility and decorum becoming less and less frequent.
It's scary.
And I find the blatant disregard for transparency and accountability becoming more and more frequent. And that's on a variety of levels. It's society as a whole. Whether you call it keyboard warriors or their keyboard cojones or whatever somebody says, that's easy peasy to do before you touch your phone off or click your computer off.
That's right.
It's a lot harder to go in person or to turn around and take the time to sign up for something and to be there and get your point across. That being said, how do you think is the best for people to engage on subject matter that they care about, but they don't know about?
Sure. I think authentically. I think you don't have to be an expert in anything to engage. But the thing I'm looking for is authenticity. Mm-hmm. And if you can come to a commission meeting or even send me an email or, the rest of the commissioners an email with your authentic point of view, you can say, I don't know what I don't know about this, but this is what I'm thinking. This is from my perspective, what I'm here. I would much rather have that because then I know where you're at. I know what you represent. And then I can consider it. Right. And so authenticity for me is the number one key, no matter who you are, what you are. And I will tell you, most people listening to this will probably think I'm talking about the advocates that are, quote on the other side, and they're not on the other side. I consider myself neutral.
They're on a side.
On a side. Yeah. I am on the advocate side. I represent everybody. I'm actually also talking about there's a lot of extreme hunters out there too.
Oh yeah.
And they send me just as many emails. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you can
sometimes you don't want those people getting them and speaking because that goes into what we just talked about, that level of civility and decorum that is lacking. Mm-hmm. And I see it on both sides. Respect
needs to go on all sides with everyone. And the civility piece is just necessary to get something done. We want to get things done here. And one thing I can say about my fellow commissioners, while we might have contentious conversations sometimes, all of us respect each other. Mm-hmm. And I really, really appreciate that. There's never been a time where the commissioners were at each other's throats so badly that we were angry or we all may have different points of view and different perspectives, but everyone there respects each other. And I really appreciate that.
See, I think that's one of the best things too, is when you start to see the tension or anxiety amongst individuals making decisions, no matter what level, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever it is. When you start to see that tension that builds, it becomes more and more difficult for people to think that there's a competent branch of individuals that are making the final decisions. And when I'm dead and gone, and when you're dead and gone, I want to make sure that what I consider to be the resource, because I think it's renewable, I think if appropriately managed, it should be utilized to the best possible. Because I'm a people first type of guy.
Absolutely.
I care about wildlife.
Absolutely.
I care about natural resources, but I also care about me. I also care about you. I also care about the human race. And for us to be able to survive, we have to make sure that we manage those resources appropriately. When I'm dead and gone and you're dead and gone, I want to make sure that stuff is still here. And I think you said it about making sure that you're doing it for the benefit of generations. It's
That's
generational.
Right. It's the only reason I'm here.
Yeah.
It really is.
And a lot of people are selfish, not just in wildlife. I want this. What about that? Well, I'm not going to be here then. I feel more imbalanced with wildlife and natural resource conservation than most people feel about what they do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And I feel that and to maintain that in perpetuity, you have to have a thoughtful level of engagement with professional input and funding and educated boots on the ground people that have experience and real lifestyle experience, whether it's the rancher or the farmer or the outfitter or the sportsman. When you sit on the sideline and you don't have that perspective, you have your opinion, but you don't have the perspective of where all these other boots on the ground experienced individuals come from. I find that to be degrading and eroding to the entire process, especially in today's environment where you've got the social media deal where you push a button or you vote yes or no on a ballot. Yeah. And I think that's to the detriment of what wildlife conservation was originally created for.
Yeah. And I think it's the power of democracy is really important. We need to be able to have votes and be able to do, affect policy throughout our state. It's important. However, I think we have seen the weaponization of such process, and not just in the hunting area and community, just in general, and
everything.
Yeah, and I think that is something we need to watch because that could have, like I talked about, those generational ramifications that you can't easily pull back. And so I think, but I always say this is like easy to sit here and talk about. If we want to change that, well, we got to vote right. Number one. Number two, as Barack Obama used to say, don't get mad, vote.
Exactly.
But the number two thing is we got to stop talking about it so much and actually activate, which is what I've done by being on this commission. And I think the thing that you have to do is get involved. If you don't like the people that are representing you in the House or the Senate or, as governor or whatever else, then go be one. Stop talking about it. Stop complaining.
You got to know who the hell they are.
That's right. But I'd say even go a step further. Stop complaining. Go run for something. If you are so disgruntled, stop talking about it and go run. Because one of the things I am so sick of is that there's a lot of people that talk out there, but there's not a lot of people that activate. And I want to see more the hunting community, all the people. I want to see all the people that have opinions and thoughts and activate themselves more. And that would be my ask. If you don't like it, go be it.
I think a lot of what we deal with, people say I don't have time. There's not the space for me to participate in. What I've seen from my advocacy is people you convince to go do something. Then they show up, they give 2 or 3 minutes of testimony. The vote didn't go their way or the changes weren't made about whatever a variety of different subject matter. And they never come back because nobody acted upon their wishes.
That's right.
They thought it was a bitch session. They were coming to get their point across and everybody was going to go, oh, thank you for coming and giving us that information. We're going to change the entire world for you. More often than not, those guys come and you just got them to that threshold to participate. And they found out that the process doesn't work like the person would think that the process works. You're not scolding your kid because he didn't take the trash out.
That's right.
You're not chewing the guy's ass because he didn't put your rotational tires on the right way. You're trying to directly affect and change policy. That does not happen with a 3-minute interaction
at all
on one time.
That's correct.
When you got engaged at this level, had you ever in your entire life participated in anything wildlife related to get your point across to any other individual about what you thought or what you wanted? Anything
wildlife related? No, because I didn't have much of an opinion.
Yeah, because you were on all the other boards and committees and all the other stuff.
That's correct.
It was your wheelhouse.
That's right.
Now this has become part of your wheelhouse.
It's a huge part of my wheelhouse now.
So how do people in your mind that don't want to sit on a board or committee, that don't want to run for office, how do they engage when now they realize this might be in my wheelhouse? How do I do that?
Very simple. The key to having democratic authority and power today is exposure. And what that means is you have to not only get exposure to the people that have those decisions and are making those decisions, but you have to have the ability to expose them to your own points of view. And so show up to my happy hours is what I'm going to say. Show up to where people are. If you want to influence the thought process of a decision maker, of a state representative, of a senator, of a commissioner, of anyone, even a Dan who sits on a working group, you got to show up to where they're at and just not do the 2-minute spiel per se, but show up and have an engaging conversation with me. Talk to me about what we're doing.
You need to know my perspective.
Yeah.
And I need to know how you're going to interpret my perspective.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. A good example of this, ladies and gentlemen, is I have never trapped anything in my life. I'm not a trapper.
You trapped your wife.
Well, that's about the only...
Because she didn't trap you.
That's a good point. Poor thing. But yeah, no, I'm not a trapper. I wouldn't profess to be one. I wouldn't, and I didn't know the first thing about trapping. What did I do?
No,
One day I came to you and said, Dad, I don't know the first thing about trapping. And I have a feeling one of these days I'm going to have to make a decision on trapping. Educate me. Did I not?
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about. But unless you expose yourself to me as a lifelong trapper and someone... I wouldn't have had that perspective. Right. And so my narrow focus of because I had someone ask me on the advocacy side, why do they still do trapping anyway? And you know what I said? I have no idea. Because I don't.
Yeah.
I couldn't answer the question. So that's actually a good question. Why do they do trapping? And Dan was able to take me through just history, and I'm still learning, by the way. And so I think that's the kind of exposure I'm talking about. Like, expose your public officials.
But that's reciprocal.
You know, it is.
Elected
It's big
appointed
time.
officials all the way down to the boots on the ground type of people.
Yes.
And I think that the thoughtful display of curiosity that you and a few others have been able to convey over the course of the last 6, 8, 10, 12 months gives hope to the process. And while people that would listen to this from what I would consider my side of the fence,
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that they would understand that it's long, it's drawn out, it's tedious, it's very meticulous. It's
Not always fun.
That's not always fun. And then from people from the other side that are watching that think less of me because I'm a trapper,
Mhm.
think less of you because you're a sportsman.
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand, and that's why I sit on so many working groups, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why I have at least amicable relationships with my adversaries. Now, my downright enemies, I can't have an amicable relationship with. But my adversaries, difference of opinions, there's a level of respect. There might be a level of polite admiration about the enthusiasm that one brings to the table.
Yeah.
I would hope that people would give you and other commissioners and legislators the benefit of the doubt before they judge you when the time comes for them to interact with you, just because you were selected as the sports person's rep, or somebody was selected as the agriculture rep, or whatever. Explain to me, working on the Parks and Wildlife Commission,
Mm-hmm.
you can't talk to each other outside of the meeting. I mean, when you're
So that's
explain
actually a little bit of fake news.
okay.
We can, by law, and I know the open records and the open meetings law probably better than anybody on the commission because of my work in the public sector.
Mm-hmm.
We can absolutely talk to each other if we want to, outside of the commission, as long as we're not discussing commission business.
Okay.
That is important. And people think that we can't speak to each other at all. Matter of fact, I've been told that. I'm like, that's not real. That is not, it's just fake. That's not real. And I have challenged anyone who says that, because that's not what the law says. It just says
Talk
you
about
cannot.
fishing. You can go talk about fishing.
We can talk about anything we want to, as long as
petition.
that's right. You can't do that.
Okay.
As long as it's not coming to the commission, and as we're not talking about agendas and all that kind of stuff, we can talk about whatever we want. Do we? No, because there's a long-standing tradition in the commission to not speak to one another, and I try to respect that tradition. But that's all it is a tradition, because the law does not say that we can't speak to
So when
each
you're
other.
coming to a meeting, you interact at the meeting, you interact at the dinner, you interact at the lunches, you
That's right.
interact at the pre-meeting.
And that's about it.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like you're going in a bowling with each other
I've never done that with any.
on Thursday nights.
No,
You
I've
don't-
never.
you
I've
don't
never.
bowl, do you?
No, I don't bowl. But I've never interacted with our commissioners or my fellow commissioners outside of commission meetings. I really wish that I would, because it would allow me to get their perspective a little bit more. But in trying to honor the tradition of not.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that that's been created like that in government?
Because someone messed up at some point, and then they took it a little farther than they should have, in terms of what the actual law and policy says. That's my, no one's told me that. That's what I'm thinking. And I'll say that I will only do what the law says and what I think will be respectful to my other commissioners.
But do you think that you think there's room for improvement for the way that the process currently?
Oh my gosh, 100%. 100%.
And we're not just talking about the commission side. We're talking about
in general,
open records or government interaction.
One of the biggest, and this is going into just some of the things that I've been wanting to work on for years, and one day hopefully we'll have time on, is CORA, for example. The fact that it's hard to even get a public entity sometimes to even release records that are just normal records.
Right.
And this is not CPW I'm talking about. I'm talking about a lot of cities out there, and a lot of other public entities
Right.
won't release it unless you pay a bunch of money Since when was that the spirit of that law? As the deputy mayor and public safety director of Denver, as a COO of Denver, as a former city manager or deputy city manager in 2 major cities, I never did that to people. I didn't make people pay thousands of dollars just to get data that they already owned because they were the public.
Right.
We need to correct that kind of behavior. Same thing with allowing people to just be people together. You know, I get the opportunity to be on this commission with a lot of my fellow commissioners, and I would love to get to know them more as people. But because of kind of the tradition of not speaking to each other, it really puts us in a
really
weird.
Know your comrades, their family histories or their background.
I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I really don't.
And I think that.
And it's a travesty, actually.
Yeah.
Because you got to know when you're in the foxhole with somebody, you need to know who they are, right? And I think that ability to understand where they come from, who they are, what they're thinking, and it shouldn't just happen when you're making really tough decisions. You should be able to get to know them a little more. And I'm going to make an effort to do so, in the confines of the law.
Right.
Not in the confines of tradition, but in the confines of the law. Now that I've been on for a little while, I feel more comfortable doing that. But I will tell you, it has been a challenge.
From your interactions so far, when you go in 4-year terms, if you're so inclined to keep your name in the hat, you would actually go into a new term under a new governor once Governor Polis is termed out in 2026. You would then stay. Would you, given if you knew the future and had a crystal ball, given what you know now, and a new governor came along, assuming that things were similar, and they wanted you to stay, would you stay?
That's an interesting question. I think I can't. I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm going to give you the political answer of I don't know if I would or not. It depends on who that governor is and what they're trying to accomplish. One thing I will tell you is I do respect the fact that the current governor took me through such a rigorous process to make sure I was going to represent sports persons. And one of the things that the governor asked me was, in your representation, how are you going to speak? And I said, I'm going to speak out. I'm going to speak loud and proud. And I was just me. And he said, that's what I want. And if the governor doesn't have that type of mentality, I don't want to be a part of it, because I'm going to be me and I'm going to show up as me.
Yeah.
And as you know, I'm quite vocal quite often, and I don't plan on changing that. And so if that's not what the governor or the Senate specifically is looking for, then I probably am not the right fit. And my biggest thing is I want to make sure that, we are really considering keeping our resource available for generations to come. And so I can't speak to what a future governor would want or look like, but it would be an honor to continue to serve. And I would probably take up that mantle again if asked, but it just depends on where we're at the state of our state and country.
What do you think? What do you think the biggest challenge right now is? Wildlife related, just wildlife related for this commission.
If you're looking to explore your opportunities to hunt out west, maybe try Colorado. If you're trying to get information about bighorn sheep, elk, deer, private land, public land, maybe it's everything that you want to do as far as pack-in trips. Maybe it's just having a pack trip decided for you, and then when you get there, you just hunt out of a drop camp. Make sure you check out the Colorado Outfitters Association. Colorado Outfitters Association here in the state of Colorado has got a numerous amount of outfitters that are members, and they can supply you with whatever you're looking to try to acquire and what you want to do for the hunt of a lifetime. For more information, check out the coloradooutfitters.org and make sure that you let them know that you heard about them with Through the Gates, and let them know that you're trying to continue to save the hunt in the state of Colorado. We always talk about supporting businesses that support our efforts to be able to save the hunt in Colorado. Well, the Colorado Shed Company in Penrose, Colorado, just outside Canyon City, is one of those partners. Colorado Shed has been building sheds in the state of Colorado for the last 10 years and is actually owned by sportsmen and women. They support the efforts of what the Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management has done, and they also support all the organizations that you're probably a member of. Whether you're looking for small modular type buildings, sheds for your property to store the extra hunting equipment, or maybe just to turn around and put that freezer in for all the meat that you've got, check out Colorado Sheds. They also do pole barns and can do custom manufacturing to whatever your heart desires. She sheds, man caves, it doesn't matter. Check out coloradosheds.com.
What do you think the biggest challenge right now is wildlife related, just wildlife related for this commission?
I would say the biggest challenge for the commission is separating, how do I say this? Separating policy and scientific representation from an overarching political bend from all sides.
That's challenging.
And that is the biggest challenge, because I feel for our staff who, for the most part, for the most part, are bringing really good recommendations forward and all that. And sometimes during my tenure, quite often, you have to really look into when other commissioners or other people are coming forth in public comment or everything else, what's the political bend? And do I take that for its face value and really consider it, or is there something else behind it? And for me, that's been the biggest challenge, because I want to make a really informed decision, not based on my own opinion, frankly. I choose, and I've learned this through working as a city manager, working as running other cities and as a police officer. My opinion doesn't actually count. It doesn't matter. What does count is that I consider the facts and I consider what is best for the state. And that's what I want to vote yes or no on. And if I'm not doing that, then we've messed up. And that's always my scare, is that we're not considering that piece. We want to do what's best for the state and not what's best for an individual or a group of individuals.
You got a good politician answer.
Thank you.
And I like trying to dig into some of this stuff, because everybody's, no matter who we interview, they all have a little bit of different perspective from their own backgrounds. I mean, that's just life.
Yeah.
When you got on, obviously you were coveted through the agency, and people knew that you were the new commissioner. So, well, we need to introduce, we need to interact, we need to engage, we need to inform.
Yeah.
This is not a popularity contest, but who spoke out to you that resonated so well within the first month that you were in the commission, that helped you understand the nuances or the caveats, the opportunity that was there to bring you on board, to help not indoctrinate, but to bring you up to speed?
Yeah.
Who really stood out that you went, I don't know looking back, I don't know what I would have done if that person, who would have done that?
I would say Gaspar Percone. Huge. I mean, he even, it was so good. He even joined me on a bear hunt, and we talked about the whole history of just him being on the commission. It was so awesome, because he helped me really understand some of the history. I mean, and he was completely neutral, which was really cool. So Gaspar was a huge piece. You did the same thing. It was
not to the level that others did.
No. I mean, but you and I had multiple phone calls where you're like, hey, this is something you should look at and something you should read. And, which was awesome. Jenny Burby. Oh my goodness. I could call her my walking encyclopedia of all things outfitting. Marie Haskett, at commission meetings, I would lean over to her and be like, what are they talking about? And she'd be like, what are we doing? Is that really a rule? And at commission meetings specifically, Marie, was good. Oh my gosh. And she's going to kill me that her name is escaping me right now. She was probably the best, She's a former commissioner, doctor. She just left.
Oh, Karen Bailey.
Karen Bailey. I'm sorry, Karen. Your name just escaped me for just 2 seconds. Karen Bailey was one of those forces, those silent forces in the commission that I depended on her so much.
Smart lady.
To give me just facts. And Karen was so articulate and so like knowledgeable. I was devastated when she left. Matter of fact, so much so I wrote the governor. I was devastated because she
was a valuable asset as far as no matter what side of the aisle you stood on.
Yeah.
She was a valuable asset.
Oh, yeah. I would say out of all those people I just mentioned, she was the first one on my very first meeting who during a break pulled me aside and said, here's what you need to know. This is what blah, blah, blah. Here's the rules, blah, blah, blah. You know, it was just awesome. And when I needed to know just a fact about, you know, ecology or anything, Karen was my go-to. And I liked Karen. Today, I really respect Karen and really, 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 really wish she was still on this commission.
I like you answering these questions because it shows the enthusiasm that you have for the position that you're in. I mean, you act like you're getting paid, but you're not getting paid.
Not at all.
You get a little per diem here, a little
$50,
yeah.
to pay for gas.
Yeah, pay for gas.
Yeah.
But it shows that you're bought into this is a need, and now you've made it a want and a desire because you find value into it.
That's right.
All the subject matter, not wolves.
Yes. Oh, Jesus.
Wolves is like 5 or 6 letter word, depending on if you use plural or not. We don't utilize unless we have to.
Sure.
What is the most intriguing subject matter that you look forward to discussing and enhancing that conversation because it's just a particular interest to you?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you go, oh, good, we get to see some of this and we get to make this. What is that?
Yeah. I'm going to give you the real answer and then I'm going to give you the secondary answer.
Okay.
The real answer of the things I really enjoy about this is, number one, the learning. I got to say that. I love learning. I learn more on every commission meeting than I've ever thought I'd learn. But I'm a police officer by trade. I really enjoy the conversations about the revocations and like the things, hearing the stories about how people misuse the system.
And you're going to see several of those tomorrow.
I'm going to see several of those tomorrow.
Yeah.
Part of that is because it exercised some investigative juices. And it makes me just wonder why people do what they do to really mess up their only chance to do what's really fun for us. And then it helps me to make decisions on how do we stop that from happening and educate people in the future. So I really enjoy those, believe it or not, because those examples hopefully are messages to other folks. So that's one. The other thing that I would say I really, really enjoy are the thing we talked about today, when I can bring in some of the knowledge from my public sector experience when urban meets rural or when urban meets parks or whatever, and we're talking about specific laws or land use stuff that I've had lots of experience in. I love that, and it's fascinating because I bring a different perspective than most of those other people on that commission. I've run cities. I've done a lot of those things, and so, the little intricacies on different verbiage and all those things are fascinating to me. But hearing about different species, Dan, like I go home sometimes and I'm just shocked about all that CPW does. Like
it's broad, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, whether we're talking about birds or we're talking about the prairie chicken or the, you name it. I mean, or the swift fox or a beetle, for crying out loud. There's so many different things that we take care of to cultivate an environment and a habitat that is really cyclical. Everything touches everything else.
Oh yeah.
And that has been the most fascinating and the biggest learning curve and learning experience that I have that continues to be cultivated every meeting. And I try to come to every meeting as though I don't know anything, because most of it I don't know.
On some meetings, you get there and you still don't know even after you left. So I'm just speaking out of turn. It's like, what the hell did we just discuss? And why did we do that? And where are we going? And did we make a decision?
That's right. That's a good point. Yeah, I've had a few of those meetings. But I think one of the biggest thing for me is the learning piece. And I really do give the CPW staff a lot of credit because they do this for a living and they do it every day. Does that mean they're always right? 90% of the time they are. Yeah. But, I appreciate them also taking our perspectives as the lowly civilians that are on this board who come with these perspectives, but they have to kind of help us understand why. Yeah. And understanding the why is, I think, the most powerful thing.
Do you see where we are as a state with a crossroads because of wolves? Wolves has been, I'm saying the 5 or 6 letter word, depending on which one you go by. Wolves have become a cross-pollination of confusion, anxiety, tension, displeasure, animosity, fear-mongering. Yeah. Do you see where we're at with wolves being detrimental to so many other aspects of the agency being able to do what they need to do because wolves have taken up so much time, effort, money, and the perception of all that combined in place of other things that should have been addressed?
Yes, I think you said it well. I would be lying if I didn't say that the introduction of wolves has really put a strain on not just the staff, the ability to get things done, but also a lot of other communities, the ag community, the law enforcement community, the legislative community. It's just put a strain on a lot of things. However, I also respect that the people voted for it. Now,
and bring that to the conversation. People voted for it, but they
didn't know they were voting for this.
I don't think they knew that they were voting for all of this that took to get what was on the ballot.
Yeah,
and not to discuss ballot box biology and get into that nuance for this conversation. We can do that at another time. But I think that it's easy for people to turn around and say yes or no, I want this, but not knowing how it actually comes about to make it happen. One of the analogies I sat and made for the stakeholder advisory group that Jenny Burby and I and John Howard sat on for the wolf introduction was I made an analogy at some point in time. Just because I want a football team in my city doesn't mean I can always have a football team and a stadium and all the nuances that go into that football team. You have a vision, but how do you create the football team? Put it to the voters, and then what do you do? And you got to have, there's so many components of that. The reason I utilize that is because there's a hell of a lot of people that would vote on something along that line that don't have any say about the football team, and they're never going to go to a game, ever. They're going to watch it on television. They're going to buy some memorabilia, but they're never going to the game because there's only 70,000 people or whatever the hell it is that's going to the game 8 times a year in a stadium because of 16 or 17 game season, unless they go to the playoffs, unless they go to preseason. Wolves, in my mind, are similar. The people that voted for that, they're never going to see a wolf. They're never going to hear a wolf. They're going to pay for the wolf. Other people are going to pay for the wolf. And other people are going to be able to interact with the wolf that didn't want the wolf, just like a football team, surrounding neighborhoods or whatever. Bad analogy for some, sports analogy for others. I think that the amount of time that has been taken on wolves by itself has been detrimental to the ability for the agency to productively and adequately address the many other things that have come up over the course of the last 5 years. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't do any of this because I know what the voters did. But I think it's going to be a history lesson 10 and 15 and 20 and 30 years down the road on how to appropriately do something. And I'm sorry that it's going to have to take that long for people to figure out, don't do this like this. Make sure you got your ducks in a row before you turn around and get into trying to have a football team in a stadium.
Yeah, I would say this, Dan. I look at it a little bit differently in that I think what you just described is not a wolf issue. I think you can take the wolf, substitute that for any number of wildlife or any number of initiatives, and we have the same problem. Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest problem, I would argue that the wolf introduction was successful because the goal was to introduce wolves. We have done that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What was not successful is the communication. Mm-hmm. What was not successful is making sure that everyone that needs to feel valued, needs to feel like they have a stake at the table, needs to feel like they are in it with us. Everyone doesn't feel that way. And that's what needs work. But in and of itself, the wolf introduction by itself and what it was, the wolves are on the landscape. Mm-hmm. I would say you take the wolves and substitute that with anything else, and you might have the same problem. Mm-hmm. It's more about how do we conduct ourselves in a manner that's that allows for decisions and policy to affect everyone in a manner that's conducive to the lifestyle in which they choose. Mm-hmm. That's what we're discussing. Because if you think about the ranchers and the ag community, the farmers and all the people that are actually affected by the wolves, they didn't really, they didn't have a say until after it was done, right? Like the people voted on it because they thought the wolves were cute and that it would be really cool to have wolves. But no one really knew the implications of all that would bring.
No.
And so I would argue that the learning process and the learning curve is there. And I hope that through that learning process, we can take this and say, okay, for the next thing, whatever that thing is, whether it's CPW related or not, mm-hmm. how do we make sure that we're inclusive of all the people that it's going to affect?
Exactly.
Because that's not what we do today. Today, it's the flavor of the day with policy. You look at what happens at the State House. They're passing laws every 2 seconds that, are sometimes detrimental to our
just
state.
done with a federal government shutdown for
the federal government. Oh my goodness! Yes.
The things that happen on state and national politics that affect the masses,
yes,
are not felt by the masses until the people that are making the decision mm-hmm. decide that we're going to feel it.
I agree.
And I think that when it comes to wildlife, because we're supposedly speaking on behalf of 961 species of wildlife and 7,000 invertebrates or whatever the hell we have mm-hmm. now, there's a component there that I understand the frustration and displeasure with the process. Mm-hmm. I think that there's better ways to implement it and there's better ways to initiate it. Mm-hmm. But you have to deal with what you have to deal with. Mm-hmm. And the selection process of commission members, elected officials, whatever that is, the thing that I've always griped and moaned and groaned since I started playing in this level about 18, 19, 20 years mm-hmm. ago was that, and it's not scientific what I say, so don't take it out of context.
Sure.
If a deer lives to be 5 years old and we have a 5-year big game season structure, and then we change it, there's no way, shape, or form to fully implement through the life cycle of a singular animal or even part of a species through the politics and the public perception and the social justice or injustice and the objectives and the thresholds and the models and all the things that go into managing that. Mm-hmm. I speak hypothetically, and I don't want to sound like I'm anthropomorphizing anything. Mm-hmm. This is not a Bambi conversation.
Sure.
But if I was a deer that lived to be 10 years old mm-hmm. and I was at the latter stages of my 10 years, mm-hmm. I'd be looking around going, who the hell made all these decisions? Because they've changed all this crap from when I was born till now, 6 freaking times, and it ain't got no better for me.
Yeah.
And
that's how I feel about tax law, by the way.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
I still, half the time you don't know what you're supposed to file because they change it so much. Well, you know?
And our CPA treasurer secretary for CRWM, he's like, I mean, he does big stuff, mm-hmm. big firms. And he can't do this because the government shut down. Can't do that because the new law changed. Can't do this because there's so much to the deal. And I'm thinking, it's every form of everything that we live.
Yeah.
It's just how it affects every individual.
That's right.
I run a wildlife control business, a pest control company,
Mm-hmm.
and there's hoops and hurdles, and it's cyclical of what happens to change things. Wildlife changes because people decide they want to make change.
Mm-hmm.
They want to implement things that are going to happen in a 5 or 10 or 15 year period, but they want to change it 3 times in the process. And the average person can't pay a car off in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But by God, they're going to turn around and decide what we're going to do with our wildlife resources 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, and then change them halfway through the process. If you had the opportunity to lay out a structure, let's just go backwards. Let's say you're Murphy Robinson is the Theodore Roosevelt of conservation.
Nice.
Now, what would you say that we need to do for the next 100 years based upon what you consider to be a success from the last 100 years to get us to where this point is now? What do we need to do for the next 100 years?
That's such a good question. Wow. I have one answer that I put always to complicated questions like that.
Because you're a politician.
Yeah. I'm not a politician, by the way, at all. Never
You're
been
an
elected.
administrator.
I'm an administrator. Never been elected to anything yet.
Yeah.
But I would say this: the answer I like to give when it seems otherwise complicated is to make it simple, and that's to go back to the basics. What are the basic things that we need to do to keep our landscape, our habitat, our water intact, and really research what did Teddy do? What did Eisenhower do? What did all the, I would say, founders of what is each of the the eras in American society, but forget American. How about global society when it comes to nature work? What do they do well? And can we take those snippets of what they did well and then cultivate that in a long-term 100-year plan? That's what I would do. So I can't tell you I know what that plan actually is, because I think you have to go and do some major studying to implement that. And what's funny is everybody moves the needle on what good is. Like everybody's good is different.
Right.
And which is why I say go back to the basics, go back to water, habitat. I think one of the things that we're going to be facing as a challenge in the next 100 years is development and urban sprawl.
Habitat.
Habitat. One of the conversations I consistently have with a lot of people is my outspoken behavior, I would call it, when it comes to this ideal that we need to put more solar farms in on public lands, and the ramifications that has on our species corridors, on their travel corridors, whether it's pronghorn, whether it's deer, elk, and or even tarantulas, believe it or not. Like, who would have thunk it, When I ask those questions, people think, oh, Murphy, whatever. No, I'm like, no. If you have a population of animals that cannot pass through because you have these gates up, that literally will stop progress of that species and stop them from getting to a certain area.
Yep.
And at what cost?
And you're seeing more and more of it.
You're seeing more and more of it. And so, and my job as a commissioner is to challenge the goals of solar at that point, to say, okay, then at what point do you actually make it worse? And are you really reaching your goals if you're stopping an entire species from being able to live? What's the give and take there? And that's a policy decision, of course, on the legislative and on the executive branch level, but it's something that we have to be louder about, right? Those specific things, because there are mitigation tactics that can be used to make sure that we can do both. Right? That's just one example of major human interaction with wildlife, and frankly, with just habitat that has major ramifications down the road. And I think that's what we have to pay attention to more than anything, because, and I shouldn't say more than anything, but quite heavily, because as we develop more neighborhoods, as we put up more buildings, as we do more infrastructure that would bring in otherwise renewable energy and all those things, when you look at what we do, it's affected pretty heavily. And we have to pay close attention, because it's not easy for a city dweller who is just elected senator and got elected senator or House representative saying, I'm going to save you money and I'm going to get you these tax rebates and put solar on your house and do all the things, and realizing like they have no idea the implications of what they just said to the wildlife resource. They have no idea the implications of what they just said to the water rights and the water infrastructure.
They just see vacant land.
Or they just see the next election. Dare I say that out loud, and they think that it's just all going to be there and it's fine. And and so that's why I think
like it just reproduces, like it's going to continually grow. Right. We do it here. There's more over there.
That's right.
We do it over there. There's more over here.
That's right. And I think that's what we have to be really cautious on, is because I even take something as benign as park space. Our parks, we have some of the most visited parks in the country. And to hear sometimes all the millions of people that go to, for example, I was talking to the park director of Cherry Creek Park today. Mm-hmm. She said they had over 2 million people coming into their park every year. That's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And you have to wonder, what are 2 million footsteps each day doing on those trails, doing what kind of thing do you have to do to keep up that park?
Oh, yeah.
How do you make that feel like nature still? Because at what point does it not become nature? Does it just become the perception of nature? And that's what I'm really trying to guard against.
I think that's one of the things too, is so many people, and we found this out in a variety of different levels. So many people consider walking their dog in open space part of nature. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, it's more nature than where they just walked from their house or whatever. But it's not the nature in a sense to where it's wildlife habitat. Mm-hmm. And just because it's open space doesn't mean it's wildlife habitat.
Right.
It might be, but if wildlife doesn't live there, it's not wildlife habitat. Right. It's open space. Explaining to people what they don't know, not to criticize, not to scrutinize, but to explain to them what they don't know is one of the hardest but most challenging things that we do with CRWM and our coalitions with CWCP, is to get the non-hunter, the uneducated individual, whether they're legislators, commissioners, elected officials, appointed officials, or whatever. Could be an Uber driver.
That's right.
That they don't understand what we're sitting here talking about, because it's not their wheelhouse. I'm going to ask a couple questions. We'll wrap up. I know you got a busy day tomorrow. Got to go full boat. What other endeavors are you engaging in for hunting season this year?
Oh, that's a very, very good question. So
you don't know yet.
Yeah. So I've actually been hunting all over the country. I got my elk this year. I'm working on getting a buddy of mine has promised me a landowner tag for a late season here for a deer. So we're working on that. I went pronghorn hunting, and I hate to say that I had a windy day and I missed a shot, which was the first time.
Hot airs.
Oh, come on now. The first time in years I've actually shot at something and missed it, and so it was a humbling moment and experience for me. But
so you're not perfect anymore.
Not anymore. Not at that apparently. But yeah, it was a windy day, and I just was a little off, and I think I went a little behind him. So I got to watch him for a minute, but he rode off to the sunset. But I did go pronghorn hunting, and did miss my shot there, which is hunting, by the way.
Exactly,
it's part of it.
Yeah.
I was able to go to Florida this year and engage in a gator hunt, which I won at the Bow Hunters Association. That was amazing, fascinating.
Sounds like an adventure.
It was a new adventure. It was a new way of hunting. I've never done that before. Kind of a once in a lifetime kind of deal, and it was quite amazing.
So, do we need to bring alligators into Colorado?
No, Please don't.
We do have
Oh boy.
a Colorado gator farm.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And it's not a farm in the sense to where they raise them. This is called Colorado Gators. A couple weeks, we're going to have a podcast
Nice.
that we did down there in person.
Oh wow.
With me and the cameraman, got into the pit with the alligators.
Oh my goodness.
Did some interviews.
You interviewed the alligators?
Yeah, we were gonna wrestle, but now that's something we could do together. We could go down there. They'll show us how to wrestle alligators.
Oh Jesus, I'm good.
And that's what the camera guy said. Ryan,
you got right out of hand.
I think I told you, but the guy gave Ryan a stick. Ryan's the camera guy.
Oh my!
Ryan's like, I'm the camera guy, and he says, what do I need? What do I need a stick for? He says, you're going into a pit with 80 alligators. Yeah. You need a stick. Ryan looked at me and goes, I'm the camera guy.
Exactly.
So,
I love it.
So you did the alligator.
It was an awesome experience. I like I said, I don't shoot anything I don't eat, so I have lots and lots of pounds of alligator in my freezer as we speak. I made some alligator gumbo the other day. It was really good. Yeah. It was really good, but I used the whole animals. We're going to get some boots and stuff made and all that stuff. So
cool.
It's neat.
And you're going to anywhere else?
Doing some pheasant, doing some quail, chucker.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And I think that's all I have planned this year. But as I told you, I'm always looking for another.
What's your favorite method of take?
That's a good question. I love rifle hunting. But I just bought a brand new bow and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. My fun story, my wife, this shows you how much I love hunting and how great of a wife I have. For my wedding present, 11 years ago, we got married. She bought me my first bow.
Oh, really?
She did, for our wedding present and presented it to me on our wedding day. And so I recently upgraded that bow to a much more expensive, but also really, really nice bow. And I really enjoyed taking that out. Cool. So that's been really fun. But I also do muzzle loader. I like it all. Mm-hmm. I love it all.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Man.
I'm glad you're enjoying the hell out of it.
Oh, I love it.
You can see the enthusiasm and the pleasure that you have out of even just talking about it, because I think you really, truly like to be around like-minded people.
No, 100%. 100%.
Interested in the conversation and the conservation. If you had a chance to go back into time
mm-hmm.
and meet somebody in the conservation world, besides Teddy Roosevelt,
yeah,
and it could be 10 years ago or 150 years ago, and you had a chance to go back and sit and talk to them about, Back to the Future. You're back there, but saying, what do I need to prepare for? Who would you like to see? And what would you ask them?
That's a really good question. I'll tell you who it would be. I would love to talk to some of the Buffalo Soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you why. Buffalo Soldiers are known for what they did in the wars and all that kind of stuff, but Buffalo Soldiers were also avid hunters. And, people don't realize that African Americans specifically, but, Black Americans were some of the first hunters mm-hmm. in this country. And specifically, the Buffalo Soldiers had a really, really cool history in hunting. And would just love to understand and hear that perspective and understand as, other African American hunters mm-hmm. understand that heritage much deeper so that I could share that with other young Black and brown kids mm-hmm. So that they can understand that's part of their history. One thing that I hate is that a lot of people of color don't see themselves in the hunting world because of propaganda.
Right.
That's wrong. It's fake. Mm-hmm. That's as much a part of their history as it is anyone else's. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably who I would engage, either them or, even back to, slavery times. Mm-hmm. The people that were hunting were Africans and African Americans. And I would love to understand that perspective a little more because there's not a lot out there for it.
That's a cool answer too, because I know you're a history buff. I know you like. Yeah. I like you like the historical side of a lot of what we talk about.
Absolutely.
And it's cool that you even reflect back to that. If you want to support a company that supported the efforts to defeat Proposition 127, then you need to support Davis Tent. Davis Tent has provided quality canvas goods for outdoorsmen for the last 50 plus years. For more information, go to davistent.com. If you want to support another business that was instrumental in helping us defeat Proposition 127, check out Salida Gun Shop. Salida Gun Shop in Salida, Colorado provides quality products, expertise, and knowledge from individuals that actually do what they sell. Go to salidagunshop.com. Listen to the advice of Cameron Haynes and support companies that are supporting your cause and your efforts. Minturn Anglers is one of those companies. Minturn Anglers provides product and fishing excursions in Colorado and are second to none. For more information, go to minturnanglers.com. We had to end up cutting the Murphy Robinson interview, the podcast episode, short just by a couple minutes. We were running out of power and we had some things we needed to attend to. But we just wanted to say thanks a bunch for Murphy joining us. We know he's got a lot on his plate, lot of stuff going on. You need to follow him if you're interested in commission happenings and things that are going on in his life with Murphy's Law podcast. He's starting that, I think, after the first of the year. They'll have multiple episodes coming out. But we'll get him back on when we actually can get him in studio. And this is going to be a long, drawn-out process over the course of the next 13, 14 months. You can understand the displeasure or frustration from guys like him and other people that testified or presented to the Parks and Wildlife Commission, specifically from the agency itself. Matt Eckert and Brian Dreyer both spoke up on behalf of staff, process, procedure, accountability, and transparency, which is imperative in this landscape. And so we're hoping that we can figure out a way to navigate through the next 3 or 4 months that is going to be quite tumultuous. If you didn't listen to the first part of the commission meeting, I would suggest that you do that. Go back and listen to it and see how that played out from a process of procedure, accountability, and transparency perspective, and you can see what we're having to deal with. We're going to give some updates along the way. These podcasts will be filling in some gaps and some spots. We'll end up with a pretty good run of podcasts over the last month of 2025. And we're hoping that you guys continue to follow us. Some people are watching on YouTube. A hell of a lot of people are listening on the multiple platforms that we've got. And we appreciate the support, appreciate the subscriptions. One thing I wanted to mention is, and we're going to continue to do this, probably to the level of nauseating experiences for people, but the Colorado chapter of Safari Club International continues to support us in multiple ways. And currently they're supporting a raffle that was donated, a lion hunt by Whitaker Brothers Outfitting, the ones that did it last year as well during the 127 campaign. And those tickets are $50 a piece, 3 for $100, and you can go to scicolorado.org. And in conjunction with that, we've also got a buffalo meat hunt, a bison meat hunt, including the processing in South Park, Colorado. The drawings for those will be held on December 12th. And we want to thank the Elk Mountain Cattle Company and Down Erie family, along with Brian and Susie Dieter of Hilltop Custom Meat Processing in Canyon City, for supplying that particular product and that opportunity. So if you're interested in getting involved, supporting the cause, buy the raffle tickets for a gift for somebody or whatever. We had winners last year that each bought 1 or 2 tickets apiece. And I can't say enough about the experience that those people have gotten, but just support the organizations that are supporting the fight and the cause, and buy a raffle ticket. Get on scicolorado.org. We're going to continue to support what we're doing. And we got big raffles coming up next year. Big raffles that'll never, ever be another opportunity like what we've got next year. So we're going to keep that under wraps. We want you to have a happy Thanksgiving, a Merry Christmas, and we're going to continually talk through the process and procedure and make sure that we aim small, miss small, stay the course, and hold the line for what we need to do for science-based wildlife management. Until the next episode of Through the Gates, be safe.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Through the Gates. For more content like this, make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe on all of our channels.